The forest is silent, blanketed in snow, the kind of silence that holds its breath. Amidst the endless white, a lone wolf mother moves cautiously, her every step deliberate, her senses alert. Her eyes, wide with worry, scan the horizon. Her fur, thick and wild, glistens under the cold moonlight. But there's no mistaking the exhaustion that clings to her body. She's carrying something small, fragile, wrapped in the protective embrace of her jaws. Her pup. The little one stirs weakly, his tiny body trembling. Blood stains the snow beneath him, and the mother presses her muzzle gently against his, urging him forward. The struggle is clear. Every step is an effort, each one heavier than the last. She knows she has to keep moving, but the forest around her feels endless, and the cold is seeping deep into her bones. She knows she cannot stop, cannot rest. Not while the pup is still breathing. Suddenly, the sound of cracking branches echoes through the trees. Her head jerks up. Her ears twitch. Danger. A low growl rumbles in her chest, but she doesn't stop. She can't. The pup, despite his injury, shifts in her mouth, trying to wriggle closer to her warmth. Her instincts are sharp, her bond with her pup primal and fierce. She moves again, faster now, eyes darting nervously from side to side. She can't afford to falter. Each moment, each step is an unanswered prayer, a desperate plea for safety. The snow beneath her paws becomes slippery, treacherous. She slips, almost losing her balance, but with a steadying breath, she regains her footing. Her gaze never leaves the tiny, bloodied form she holds in her jaws. It is all that matters. There's a sense of urgency now, her breath coming in short bursts, her heartbeat a steady drum of fear and love. The world around her is a blur of white, but the bond between mother and pup is crystal clear. This is survival. This is a mother's fight to save her young, and yet in the depths of the forest, unknown to the wolf, there is another presence, something that might change everything. But for now, it is just her pup, and the bitter cold. And with every step, the stakes grow higher. The wolf mother presses on, her legs aching with every stride, the snow clinging to her fur like weighty burdens. Her pup, still cradled in her jaws, is barely moving now, a faint whimper escaping his lips. His body is weak, too weak for a journey of this magnitude. But the mother doesn't falter. She can't afford to. The forest is dense, the trees looming, like silent sentinels blocking the moonlight. The path is treacherous, the snow growing deeper as they move deeper into the wilderness. She knows the dangers lurking around them, predators, extreme cold, and the ever-present threat of starvation. Her mind is focused only on one thing, keeping her pup alive. She pauses for a moment, breath coming in shallow gasps, and surveys the surroundings. Her sharp eyes scan the snow-covered ground for tracks, any sign of danger, or worse, an ambush. But nothing. The forest is eerily quiet, as if holding its breath, watching. Gently, she lowers her pup to the ground, his fragile body resting on the cold snow. She nudges him with her nose, checking to see if he's still breathing. His chest rises and falls, weak but steady. She sighs in relief, but the weight of her fear is palpable. There's no time to stop. The wind picks up, biting at her exposed skin, and she knows they must find shelter. She moves again, faster now, her body moving like a shadow through the snow. But she's not just running from the cold, she's running out of time. The longer she stays out here, the greater the chance that something will find them. She can already feel the pull of exhaustion creeping in, but she ignores it, pushing her body beyond its limits. Her pup stirs again, this time with more energy, and the mother lowers her head, offering a soft growl of reassurance. She can feel him trying to lift his head, his tiny legs quivering beneath him. The struggle is real. His tiny body isn't built for the harshness of the wild, not in his state, but her gaze hardens with resolve. She won't give up. Not yet. A low howl rings out in the distance, sending a ripple of unease through the mother. Her heart races, her eyes narrowing as she listens intently. It's not just any howl, it's the call of another wolf, a predator. She doesn't waste time, lifting her pup once more, moving with even greater speed now. They need to find safety. As the darkness presses in, she feels the tension of the unknown surrounding them. With each step, they move closer to something that might help, or perhaps something much worse. The stakes are higher than ever. Survival is a fragile thing. But in this wild world, a mother's love is fiercer than anything else. The night feels endless. The wolf mother is no longer sure how long she's been moving. Hours, days. Her body is beginning to tremble from exhaustion, but the urge to protect her pup burns hot and bright. Each step is a battle against the cold, the weariness and the creeping fear that she might not be able to save him. The forest around them has grown quieter, the threatening howls of predators now replaced by an unsettling stillness. She knows she's not alone anymore, and that knowledge does nothing to ease the dread in her chest. Then, the faintest sound breaks through the silence, the crunch of footsteps in the snow. The mother wolf freezes, her heart leaps into her throat. She lowers her pup gently to the ground, her body tensing like a coiled spring. Whoever or whatever is out there is close, too close. Her body is ready to fight, to defend her pup with every ounce of strength she has, but the steps are slow, cautious, almost human. Her eyes narrow as she watches, and for the first time, she hesitates. Could they help? Her instincts scream at her to run, to stay hidden in the shadows, but her pup's faint whimper reaches her ears, and her resolve strengthens. She has no choice but to find out. A group of figures emerges through the trees, their heavy jackets and equipment stark. Against the snow, they don't see her at first. She is a shadow in the night, her breath barely a whisper. But the moment one of them spots the pup, their expressions change from cautious to concerned. "He's hurt," one of them murmurs, kneeling down to get a closer look. The others move in, their breath steaming in the freezing air. The wolf. Mother's instincts flare with distrust, but she doesn't make a move. She watches, her eyes burning with fear and uncertainty. The human approaches the pup slowly, his hands outstretched, filled with caution but also an undeniable kindness. He knows what he's seeing, a young wolf in need of help. The mother can feel the tension in the air, an invisible battle between her urge to protect and the strange, unfamiliar presence of the humans. The man reaches the pup, gently lifting him in his arms. He looks over his shoulder, his voice barely, a whisper to the others. "We need to get him back to the station, now!" The wolf mother remains still, her breath shallow, eyes locked on her pup. She wants to lunge forward, to snatch him away and run, but something in her gut tells her to hold back, to wait and see what happens. The humans seem to know what they're doing, and for a moment she wonders if there's a chance they might be able to save him. But the fear lingers. This is not her world, not the way she knows how to protect him. As the humans carefully wrap the pup in a warm blanket, one of them turns to scan the forest. They see nothing but the dark expanse of the wilderness, and they move on, unaware of the watchful eyes tracking their every move. The mother wolf waits until they are out of sight, her heart hammering in her chest. Her pup is safe, for now. But what happens next? The uncertainty of the situation weighs heavily on her, and with each passing moment, her bond to her pup grows even stronger. She can't let him go. Not yet. The clinic smells of antiseptic, a sharp, sterile scent that feels foreign to the mother. Wolf, even from a distance. Her senses are overwhelmed by the cacophony of human voices, the clatter of equipment, and the soft murmur of anxious conversation. She stands outside the building, hidden in the shadows of a nearby tree, her eyes fixed on the door. She doesn't understand this place. She doesn't trust it. But her pup, her fragile, injured pup, is inside, and she can't tear herself away. Inside, the humans are frantic but professional. The young pup lies motionless on a table, hooked up to a machine that hums quietly, his tiny chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. The veterinarian moves quickly, her hands moving with practiced efficiency as she examines the pup. She checks his pulse, his limbs, carefully pulling back the fur to inspect the wound. The humans crowd around, watching with concern. His condition is critical, the veterinarian mutters, her voice steady, but a flicker of worry crosses her face. But it's not just the injury that's the problem. There's something else going on. She moves to another table, placing the pup on it with great care, and begins her work again, this time pulling out a variety of instruments. As she works, she speaks more to herself than to the others in the room. There's a deeper injury here. Some sort of internal damage we didn't see before. It could be from the fall or maybe something else entirely, but we'll need to run a full set of tests. The humans exchange worried glances, their concern deepening as the veterinarian continues. It's possible he has an infection. If that's the case... She doesn't finish the sentence, but her eyes communicate everything. The situation is worse than anyone had anticipated. Outside, the wolf mother feels every word, as though it's a wound to her heart. She doesn't understand what they're saying, but the fear in their voices is unmistakable. She knows the humans are trying to help, but it doesn't ease the knot in her stomach. Her pup is in danger. The life she's fought so hard to protect is hanging by a thread. Her body trembles with anxiety as she watches through the window, her ears straining for any sound that might give her a clue as to what's happening inside. Her eyes are glued to the door, every muscle in her body tensed for a sign that she should act. But for now, she can only wait. Back inside, the veterinarian prepares to run the tests. She pulls out a syringe, drawing fluid from the pup's injured side. The process is slow, methodical, but the pup doesn't stir. His small form lies limp, vulnerable under the harsh lights of the clinic. It's a heartbreaking sight, and the humans can only watch as the doctor works, knowing that everything they've done up to this point might not be enough. As the needle pierces the pup's skin, the mother wolf outside feels the sting in her own body. She bares her teeth, her breath coming in quick bursts. The bond between them, strong and unyielding, is a lifeline that neither of them can sever, not even by the cold hands of fate. The veterinarian pulls away from the pup and turns to the others. We'll know soon enough if it's a serious infection. Until then, we keep him stable. But as the door creaks open, the mother wolf retreats into the darkness, her eyes wide with an unspoken fear. The night stretches on, colder now, as the wolf mother waits. The clinic looms ahead like an unknowable fortress. She is far from the warmth of her den, far from the wild places where she feels safe. Her senses are on high alert, her heart drumming in her chest with every passing minute. She can still hear the humans inside, moving about, speaking in low voices, but the words are lost to her. The weight of the unknown is too heavy, and she can't shake the fear that tightens around her every thought. Every so often, the door to the clinic creaks open, and she tenses, expecting someone to come out. But each time, it's only a brief glimpse of movement, and the door closes again, sealing the mystery back inside. She can't see what's happening to her pup, can't feel the steady rhythm of his breathing through the walls. All she has is the fear gnawing at her stomach and the cold creeping into her bones. Her ears twitch at every sound, the crunch of footsteps in the snow, the call of distant birds in the forest. But nothing reassures her. She stays still, rooted to the ground, watching, waiting, as if in a trance. Her gaze never wavers from the clinic's door. She doesn't know how long she's been there, hours, perhaps, but the weight of the unknown makes every second stretch into eternity. In her mind, flashes of memories flicker, of the pup's first steps, of the warmth of her body curled around his fragile form during the night. She remembers the fierce joy she felt when she first saw him open his eyes, when he nuzzled her for warmth. She remembers his tiny, weak cries when they were first separated. But now, all she can remember is his limp form on the table inside. There are moments when the fear threatens to overwhelm her, when she wants to run, to burst through the door and demand that the humans fix him, make him whole. But there are also moments when a quiet, painful understanding settles over her. Her pup may not survive this. She may never see him run again, may never hear his excited yips in the wild. She presses her nose to the cold glass of the clinic's window, trying to catch a glimpse of what's happening inside. But the glass is too fogged, too clouded by the tears she refuses to acknowledge. The fear weighs heavier than the snow falling around her, heavier than the chilling winds that tear through the trees. She stands there in the silence, her body trembling. Not from the cold, but from the overwhelming fear that grips her heart. The minutes stretch, dragging into what feels like hours. She knows she can't stay here forever. She knows she can't let her pup slip away without a fight. But what if it's too late? What if the tests reveal something even worse than the infection the humans feared? The uncertainty eats at her, gnawing away at the last of her strength. Finally, the door opens again. This time, a human emerges, walking slowly. His face is drawn, his expression grim. He doesn't look at her, doesn't notice the wolf watching from the shadows. But the mother knows. She feels it in her very bones. Something has changed, and with that change, a terrible question looms in the darkness. Will her pup survive, or will this be the final test of her love? The night is quieter now, the snow falling in soft flakes, blanketing the earth in a quiet serenity. The wolf mother remains outside, her eyes glued to the clinic, her heart heavy with 1,000 questions. The human who emerged earlier has since disappeared inside, but the silence that follows brings no comfort. It only deepens the uncertainty. The pulse of her fear is steady, but there's a flicker of something else now, hope. Inside, the situation is shifting. The young pup, though weak and barely conscious, is still alive. The veterinarian works tirelessly, checking his vitals and adjusting the IV drip that's been hooked into his small body. Her hands move with precision, careful not to disturb him more than necessary. The pup's body, though frail, is fighting, slowly, but it's fighting. And the mother, though she cannot hear the reassuring beep of the monitors, can feel it in her bones. Her pup is alive. The humans have done all they can for now. They've stabilized him, but the danger isn't over. The infection has been identified, but it's worse than anyone could have expected. His immune system, already weakened by the injury, is struggling to fight it off. The veterinarian is cautious, but she isn't giving up. She knows that every moment counts. The healing process is slow. For the first time since the injury, the mother wolf feels the faintest pulse of hope. She knows the road ahead is long and fraught with danger, but the fact that he's still breathing, still holding on, is more than she dared to hope for when she first carried him into the clinic. Outside, the mother remains steadfast, watching with unwavering vigilance. Her ears flicker at every movement inside the building, but she never moves from her place. There's a primal part of her that feels she must stay close, that she cannot leave her pup until he's fully well. The bond between them is too deep, too strong, to be broken by distance. The veterinarian steps away from the pup momentarily, wiping her brow with the back of her hand. She looks at the team of workers around her and sighs. We've done all we can for now. The rest is up to him. The mother wolf, hearing this faintly through the clinic's walls, feels a surge of emotion. It's up to him. That familiar pang of helplessness rises in her chest. She knows there's nothing more she can do, nothing more anyone can do. All they can do is wait and pray. Inside, the pup stirs slightly, his tiny body twitching under the warmth of the blankets. The veterinarian returns to his side, adjusting the fluids, keeping him stable. With a soft, reassuring touch, She places her hand on his head and whispers, "Come on, little one, you can do this." And for a moment it seems as though the world holds its breath. Outside, the mother watches, her heart filled with silent hope. She knows her pup isn't out of danger yet, but he's fighting. And that's all she can ask for. Every breath he takes is a victory. Every heartbeat a small promise that he will make it through. The road to recovery is long, filled with uncertainty. But for the first time in what feels like forever, the mother wolf allows herself to hope. The healing has begun. And with it, the chance that she will see her pup run free again. Days pass in a slow, agonizing crawl, each moment stretching longer than the last. The wolf mother remains steadfast, her presence like a constant shadow in the dark. She never leaves the clinic's edge. Her eyes are fixed on the door, her body alert and ready to spring into action at any sign, any movement. The world around her has faded into a blur, but she doesn't care. All that matters is the tiny, fragile form of her pup, still fighting for his life inside. Inside, the pup's condition continues to improve, but it's a slow and fragile recovery. The veterinarian watches him closely, taking every precaution, every measure to ensure he doesn't slip back into the brink of death. The young wolf is still weak, but his breathing is steadier now. The infection has started to recede, his body responding to the medicine, to the care he's been given. But it's not a simple thing. The path ahead is still uncertain. The pup is not yet out of danger, and everyone in the clinic knows it. The veterinarian checks the pup again, her fingers moving with precision as she monitors his vitals. His pulse is stronger now, and the blood flow is stabilizing. It's a promising sign, but no one dares to celebrate yet. They know that healing takes time, and the young wolf's body, still so fragile, is still vulnerable to any number of complications. Outside, the mother watches every change with an intensity that cannot be measured. She doesn't know exactly what's happening inside, but she feels every movement, every breath. She knows her pup is still with her, still alive, and for the first time she feels a small, cautious spark of hope ignite in her heart. But even hope feels foreign now, like something she must learn to trust again. Her legs ache from standing in place for so long, but she doesn't move. She's a sentinel, unwavering in her duty. She's fought too hard, sacrificed too much to let go now. She will not abandon him. Not even for a second. Every time the door to the clinic opens, she tenses, watching with bated breath. But each time, it's the same. More humans, more movement inside. No answers, no promises. But then, after what feels like an eternity, the door opens again, and this time the veterinarian steps outside. Her face is tired but more relaxed than it's been in days. She looks down at the mother wolf, meeting her eyes for the first time. It's as if she's acknowledging the connection between them, the understanding that the bond between mother and pup is something beyond the human world. "He's getting stronger," the veterinarian says softly, her voice filled with quiet relief. The worst is over. The words are a balm to the mother's heart, but she doesn't move. She doesn't let go of her vigilance. There's still too much at stake. Inside, the pup stirs again. His eyes flutter open, blinking weakly at the ceiling. The veterinarian, smiling gently, places a hand on his small head. "You're going to be okay," she whispers, as though speaking not only to the pup, but to the wolf mother outside as well. The healing is not complete, but it's enough. The pup's fight and the love of his mother have carried him this far. The path ahead will still be difficult, but the mother knows deep down that he's going to make it. And in that moment, something shifts in her heart. The bond between mother and pup is more than just instinct. It's a force of nature, a promise, of strength, of resilience, and of love that will never be broken. She finally takes a small step back, her eyes softening as she watches the clinic. There is hope now. Her pup is going to be all right. And as he heals, so will she. The day the pup is strong enough to leave the clinic feels like a distant dream, a moment of triumph that the mother wolf could barely allow herself to imagine. But here they are now, standing on the edge of something that feels like a new beginning. The clinic's doors are open, and the light that pours out feels warm, but it's still nothing like the wild places she knows. The cold air hits her face like a familiar, painful embrace, and the forest beyond calls to her, a world of freedom waiting for her and her pup to return. Inside the clinic, the pup, though weak, is slowly regaining the spark that once lit his eyes. The humans, though gentle and kind, have become mere background noise now. The pup has learned to trust them, but his gaze is always searching for the familiar, a sign of his mother, his protector. And now that moment has come. The humans have prepared him for the next step. He's strong enough to leave. The journey ahead is uncertain, but the mother wolf feels a surge of pride swell within her chest. She stands in the shadows, just outside the clinic, her sharp eyes watching as the humans begin to load the pup into a transport cage. He's no longer the fragile creature he once was, but he's still so young, still so small in this unfamiliar world. She feels her heart tighten at the thought of him going back into the wild, where danger and hardship await. But she also knows it's the only place where he truly belongs. The humans begin the short drive to the designated release point, a secluded part of the forest, far from the clinic, where the pup will be reunited with his mother. Every moment of the journey, the mother wolf watches from the distance, keeping herself hidden as she follows the vehicle. She's been a silent witness to everything that's happened. She's done what she could. Now, the rest is up to her. Pup. Finally, the humans stop in a clearing deep in the woods, and the cage door is opened. The pup's first steps are wobbly, uncertain. The weight of the forest seems so much larger than it did when he was a tiny thing. The mother wolf watches, with cautious eyes, not daring to step forward just yet. She wants to be sure, to see for herself that he's ready. The pup hesitates for a moment, his gaze darting back toward the humans, but then something stirs within him, a memory, an instinct, and he steps into the wild once more. The mother wolf, her heart swelling with pride, finally emerges from her hiding place, her body sleek and graceful as she steps forward into the clearing. She doesn't speak, but her eyes meet his. It's the same unspoken connection that has guided them both through this entire ordeal. The pup recognizes her. Instantly, his tail wagging, his steps quickening. The mother wolf lowers her head, nuzzling her pup gently before stepping back, allowing him to find his place once again in the world they both know. The air around them is filled with the sounds of the forest, of life returning to its natural rhythm. For the first time in what feels like forever, the mother wolf feels peace settle over her. Her pup is ready. He's survived, and he's now able to survive on his own. As they move together through the trees, the sense of connection between them is stronger than ever. The mother wolf knows that this moment, this return to the wild, is the beginning of a new chapter for both of them. They are no longer bound by the humans or the clinic. They are free, and as the forest swallows them whole, disappearing into its depths, the mother wolf looks over her shoulder one last time. She can feel the weight of everything she's endured. The journey has been hard, but the bond they share has only grown stronger. It's time to let go. The forest is quiet now, a soft blanket of snow covering the ground, muffling the sounds of the world. The mother wolf and her pup walk side by side, moving through the dense trees like shadows in the night. They no longer need words to communicate. Every movement, every glance speaks volumes. It's a silent understanding, a shared history, written in the depths of their bond. The young pup, now stronger and more confident, keeps pace with his mother, but his eyes are different now. There's a sense of independence in them, a recognition that he is no longer the helpless creature he once was. He's grown, he's learned, and the world, wild and vast, is his to navigate. The mother wolf feels a deep, bittersweet pride as she watches him move. This is what she's been fighting for all along. She fought not just to save him, but to prepare him for this moment. The moment when he would no longer need her protection, when he would find his own place in the wild. The world is full of dangers, but it's also full of beauty, of freedom, of life, and it's his turn to experience it all. They reach a clearing, a place where the sun barely breaks through the canopy of trees. The mother stops and looks at her pup, her heart heavy with emotion. There's no need to linger here, no need for more words or gestures. She knows what's coming. He knows it too. The pup looks up at her, his gaze filled with a quiet understanding. There is no fear, no uncertainty in his eyes now, only the calm certainty of someone who is ready to face the wild, to walk his own path. With one final nuzzle, the mother wolf steps back, giving him the space he needs. She knows this is the moment she must let him go. It is what she's been preparing for all along, even if her heart aches to see it happen. He's no longer the small, fragile creature she once carried in her mouth. He's become something more. He's become a wolf in his own right, ready to survive, ready to thrive. The pup stands there for a moment, his tail flicking, his ears twitching as if to say one last goodbye. Then, with a swift movement, he turns and runs, bounding through the trees with the kind of strength and grace that only the wild can teach. The mother wolf watches him go, her heart swelling with a complex mixture of pride and sorrow. She doesn't follow. She doesn't call him back. This is his moment. This is his future. And though it hurts to let him go, she knows that it's the right thing. As the last traces of his figure disappear into the forest, the mother wolf stands alone for a long moment, her eyes fixed on the place where he vanished. The silence around her feels different now, quieter somehow, but it's a good silence, the silence of completion, of letting go, of trusting that he will carry the love and the lessons she gave him as he forges his own way in the world. Listen. One final glance toward the horizon, the mother turns and walks deeper into the forest, her head held high. The bond between them will never truly fade. She will always carry him in her heart, just as he will carry her with him, wherever his journey takes him. The forest is vast, but the love between mother and pup is even vaster, and that love, though silent and unseen, will endure, forever etched into the wild places they both call home. The forest moves on, as it always does. The seasons shift, and life continues its relentless rhythm. Predators stalk their prey, the wind howls through the trees, and snow gives way to spring's renewal. But somewhere in this vast wilderness, a story remains, etched into the land and whispered through the wind. It is the story of a mother and her pup, a tale of survival, love, and the unbreakable bond between them. The mother wolf, now alone, roams her territory with a calm purpose. She is no longer burdened by fear or uncertainty. She carries within her the strength of knowing she has done all she could. Her pup is out there, somewhere in the wild, learning to thrive on his own. The thought brings her peace. He's not a child anymore. He's a part of the wilderness, a wolf with his own path to follow. Sometimes, when the wind carries the distant sound of howling, she pauses, ears twitching, listening closely. Is it him? She doesn't know. It could be any wolf, but in her heart, she likes to believe it's her pup calling to the sky, claiming his place in the world. She howls back softly, her voice blending with the echoes of the forest. A quiet message that carries across the hills and valleys. I'm here. I always will be. The pup's journey is just beginning. He encounters new challenges, finding food, evading predators, and learning to trust the instincts his mother nurtured in him. But deep within his soul, He carries her lessons. He remembers her strength, her protection, and the way she stood by him when everything seemed lost. That memory shapes him, guides him, and gives him the courage to face the unknown. The humans who helped him occasionally return to the edge of the forest, hoping for a glimpse of the young wolf they once nursed back to health. They leave offerings of food and observe from a distance, but they know that he is where he belongs now. The wild is his true home. Though they may never see him again, they take comfort in knowing they played a part in his survival. As time passes, the story of the mother wolf and her pup becomes a part of the natural lore of the forest. The animals that cross their former paths sense the remnants of their presence. Birds sing their songs as if honoring the journey they undertook. The forest itself seems to remember, the snow, the trees, and the stars above bearing silent witness to the legacy they've left behind. The mother wolf, growing older now, finds herself resting more often. But there is no sadness in her solitude. She has fulfilled her purpose, and the peace that fills her heart is as vast and deep as the forest she calls home. Every breath of wind, every rustling leaf, carries with it a reminder of her enduring connection to her pup and the world they both inhabit. Eventually, as the cycle of life continues, she will fade into the fabric of the wilderness, her spirit merging with the land. But her story will not be forgotten. It will live on in the wolves that come after her, in the pups that will one day find themselves walking the same paths, guided by the unseen hands of instinct, protection, and love. This is the legacy of a mother's love, a force that transcends time and distance, a bond that no hardship, no storm, and no predator could break. It is the quiet, unstoppable power that shapes the wild itself, and somewhere deep in the heart of the forest, under a canopy of stars, a mother wolf lifts her head one last time and howls, a long, mournful cry that echoes through the trees, a tribute to the love that never lets go. Her voice fades into the night, but the message remains, eternal and unyielding. Love, survival, and legacy, these are the truths that bind them all together in the wild.